A bunch of people wandering around? What's that? Large-scale settlement in Mesopotamia? In the open? That's good. Constant trade? No need to invent. Oh wait, that's bad.
There's war.
And now there's torture. Now there's societies popping up everywhere in the Middle East. Mesopotamia is becoming weak. A shepherd decided to use horses, united the people, and created an empire. Persia? No longer one big empire. Oh, people around a river. A yellow river. Let's control that bitch. With time. Oh, shit. There's mountains in the way. Guess they're not trading with the Middle East. Want to remember your ancestors? There is a new revolutionary technology.
Oracle bones.
Also, they can never keep track of the leaders because of the mandate of heaven. Okay, now we've got the rubber people. No, not made out of rubber. They have rubber trees. Want to win your heart getting cut out for the gods? Play the mind ball game. They gaze at the stars and the first calendar is created, also writing in the concept of 00000. Across the Andes, we have the mochi. They like
Pottery porn.
India is doing well in the Mauryan Empire with centralization, tax system, spies, and roads. Buddhism spreads even more when Ashoka has an epiphany about death. Others agree with him.
Ahimsa is created.
The people here are starting to write with linear A and B, but people of Crete cannot even read it. So, okay, it's time for the
Greek Golden Age.
Sparta and Athens can never get along. So they do the rational thing. Kill.
The Delian League is formed.
Alexander is trying his best to be great, and it's working from his expansion. The Roman Empire decides to kill a popular man to make him less popular. He then becomes extremely popular. We can make a religion out of this. They also begin to spread the religion they hate along their own roads and create aqueducts. Roman Empire got cut in half, and the West is now made up of a bunch of states where people live in feudal societies, and all the work benefits the lords. The East is Byzantine. The capital is now Constantinople. Where else are there feudal societies? Japan. They were also different because, whoa, plot twist, peasants are not at the bottom anymore. That would be the merchants. That sucks for them. They also have cool warriors called samurai. Way better than knights. Are you on the verge of death? There's an easy and effective option. Seppuku! Some man in the desert hears the word of God and writes what he hears down. We can make a religion out of this.
Islam.
The people of Islam don't know who should rule. They split and create the Sunni and Shia. Back to China? Oh shit, it's broken up. Back together? Sui, Tang, looks like a Wang. Now they got an old man that believes in the Junzi. They can make a religion out of this. Another old man believes in balance. We can make a religion out of this. China's sick of being shut out by big mountains.
Silk Road.
Next to Byzantine are the Umayyads, who are Islam. They do not like Christians and Jews. The Abbasid quickly overthrew them. They do like Christians and Jews. They're pretty smart and have a house of wisdom in Baghdad. Also, there's a new Roman Empire. It's holy and great. Also, Christians started fighting and split. Byzantine is also shrinking, so they called a pope, and now there are Christians attacking Muslims and
The Crusades.
oh, they all failed. The Turks decided to bring Islam to India, the rise of the Ghaznavid Turks and the Delhi Sultanate. The Sultanate sends Harihara and Buga to the south, where they were like, I don't like Islam, and decided to form the Vijayanagar Kingdom. Oh, there are ships in the Indian Ocean with goods like spices? Southeast Asia now has ports and kingdoms. They also got religions. China is still having some trouble keeping control because of all the peasants. The artsy-fartsy Song dynasty makes up for the previous dynasties because of Champa, which led to a population boom. Many new things are being made like porcelain, gunpowder, block printing, paper money, sailing, and, soap binding. Hey, what's happening on this island? They can't do anything for themselves, so they seem to be copying China's bureaucracy and philosophies. They do follow their own religion, though, where they respect rocks. Back to the Middle East. The city of Baghdad is now on fire because of the Mongols. Nomads just rampaged through Eurasia, and now they have 4 caliphates, and now they wear pants. They also killed almost 10% of the world. Can China have anything good? Nope. China becomes enslaved by the BDSM Mongols, and the people have almost no rights. They have to learn Mongolian in order to do anything, and they cannot be in court. They also are moved halfway around the world for their innovations. Kublai Khan did like theater, though. Whoops, a lot of people just died. Looks like old China's back. Africa decided to join the Indian Ocean trade with the Swahili coast. There is another language called Swahili, a combination of Arabic, Hindi, and Bantu. What happens when you can't trade on the water? You create a golden road. Trading gold and salt using camel power? Look, the kingdom of Mali with the richest man in the world. He went on a journey to spread Islam and made a lot of people rich too. You know what else is rich? Venice. And now Europe really likes art.
The Renaissance.
The names of the famous artists in this era were named after the Mutant Ninja Turtles. Obviously, Europe also started exploring again with new sailing technologies, caravels, and astrolabes. So what happened to Byzantine? Got conquered by the Ottomans and now headed by Suleiman the Magnificent, inventor and lawgiver. They had gunpowder and now Constantinople is Istanbul. The Ottomans' neighbor, the Safavid, thought they could dodge bullets. Yep, period. Finishing the trio of gunpowder empires, we have the Mughal Empire, started by Akbar the Great, who was tolerant of all religions, but was replaced by Aurangzeb, who made everything worse again. Let's check back in on Christianity. What's all this commotion about? There's this guy, Martin Luther. No, not Martin Luther Jr. He gave 95 reasons to renounce the church and basically started the Protestant Reformation, ending the ability to buy yourself out of hell, indulgences, and revealed the corruption within the church. Other sects of Christianity also rose, with the Calvinists who did not believe in free will, and the Anabaptists who only wanted peace. Now that the whole religious stuff is sorted out, Europe can focus on what it does best, impeding on the land of other people. Europe starts off on its quest to make every other region of the world worse when the Portuguese begin to travel for resources. They begin to dominate Asian trade, forming a trading post empire that was surprisingly powerful. Too bad. It lasts for like half a century. Now, it's the Dutch and English's turn to dominate Indian Ocean trade. They set up a bunch of self-governing companies to take over Southeast Asian and South African markets. Europe. Doing what it does best, leeching off of others for profit. The Philippines and Indonesia are being taken over by the Spanish and the Dutch too. The Spanish impressed the religion of Catholicism onto the Philippines, resulting in a bunch of syncretism. Hey, these new territories are nice and all, but it's getting exhausting sailing back and forth to India for trade. I wonder if there's an easier way to get there. Hey, wouldn't it be great if we could go sail to India for trade? Said Portugal. How about instead of going right, we go left? Said Christopher Columbus. No, said Portugal. So Christopher Columbus asked Spain instead. Hey, what's that huge rock over there? The people there look like the Indians and have completely different cultures and language. Must be the Indians. And so America was founded.
It's America.
Eventually, the Europeans got their heads out of their asses and realized they had reached new land. Who wants a piece of the land? I do, said literally everyone in Europe. Spain and Portugal fought for which country should have dominance over the whole world, so they decided to split up the world half for Spain and half for Portugal. I bet that arrangement will last forever. Now that America is discovered, we can trade with the New World for resources. What do they got? What do we got? Oops, we accidentally decimated the Native American population. Oops, this gave us extreme military advantage, allowing us to take over their homes and conquer their lands. Oh well, we'll make it up to them later. And so each European nation takes a chunk of America for their own, and they all live happily ever after. Psych! They don't. The Spanish-owned societies are doing pretty well. Their conquistadors succeeded in absolutely demolishing the Incas and Mayas and are trying to convert everyone to Catholicism.
Syncretism.
That the Spanish American societies have developed a social caste system where the Europeans are above the indigenous and the mixed race people. I sure hope these race issues will mull over in a few decades. Now let's look at Brazil. Oh. Now let's look at the English and the French societies. France gets mad at Britain for being so successful, and Britain gets mad at France because, well, it's France. The sibling scuffle escalates until it becomes a long war. A 7 years war, in fact. Actually 9. Who wins? Britain, who is so broke that they have to resort to taxing their colonies for profit. Also Britain. Americans really like being taxed though, so I'm sure everything will go over all right for Britain. Let's check back in on Africa and see how they're doing. Hey, it looks like Africa is doing pretty well. The Mali Empire was taken over by the Songhay, and they have a pretty successful government system. I wonder how long it will last before Europe screws it up. Whoops, too late. And this time, it wasn't even Europe. The Swahili states from before fall too when the Portuguese begin to control trade, screwing up trade patterns. There's the Europe we know and love. Europe starts taking over Africa in their exploration period by setting up port cities around Africa. One area, the Kingdom of Ndongo, refuses to give in to Portuguese influence. Unfortunately, the resistance doesn't last too long. Europe wins again. The last place we'll look at is South Africa, specifically this area, Cape Town. It starts off as a port city, but eventually becomes one of the most prosperous areas in all of Africa under Dutch rule. Britain eventually takes over too. All this European influence results in new language blending, Afrikaans. It also results in mass syncretism of African elements with Christianity. Now, let's move to Japan and see how they're doing. Japan's going through a whole military dictatorship phase. Japanese ports close. Japan bans travel abroad. They shun foreigners. Hey, remind you of something? Coronavirus. During the Tokugawa shogunate, power is consolidated by the Tokugawa family, and a heavy emphasis is placed on being Japanese. Basically, Shinto and Neo-Confucianism, good. Western Christianity, bad. This whole isolation thing leads to a bunch of unique Japanese culture. Kabuki, bunraku, and of course, anime.
And now we bring you Russia.
Russia is beginning to look kind of terrible after Ivan III. Oh, I mean Ivan IV. It is starting to look kind of great again after Peter takes over. He really likes the West and taking land from the nobles. Catherine the Great also comes in to help the peasants, but at the same time, she hates the Jews, many of whom were poor. It's not all bad, however. There are reforms like a heavy military and mandated education. Also, population boom. Okay, back to America. Britain, we want rights. Stop taxing us. Hey, baby. No! Okay, we'll throw your tea into our sea. How you like us now? I guess I'll send my troops over. That should work. How can a bunch of freaking colonists do anything? When in the course of history it becomes necessary for you to suck on these nuts? Oh shit, the colonists aren't doing horribly. France, you want in on this action? Hell yeah, bro. Anything to undermine Britain. Although, it would be a real shame if you were to win and my citizens start getting some big ideas. I'm sure it'll be fine though. And the US won. Too bad, starting a new country is pretty hard. Now, what's happening in Europe? Yay, light. No, not that light. What? The smart light. The one that makes you think more. Ah, yep, that's the one. Some dudes that no one knew previously got light bulbs. No, not light bulbs for light, you dingus. The idea light bulb. Yeah, that's the thing. They got the ideas of humanism and the importance of the individual and the rights that they deserve as a person. Oh crap, said monarchies all around. People can now think. Yeah, duh, people could always think. Let's check back on slavery for a sec. Has the world finally realized that enslaved people are people too? No? Man, we're stupid. Slavery is especially bad in Brazil. They import so many enslaved people and treat them so terribly. I hope they resolve that issue quickly. Slave rebellions are happening left and right. Who would have thought treating an entire race of people like objects for generations could make them angry? America's still practicing slavery too. Gee, I hope they can sort that issue out peacefully in the future. Hey, at least some French guys are starting to realize the shocking revelation that slavery might not be, what's the word, morally acceptable. I wonder how these revolutionary ideas will play out for France. France isn't looking too hot, with the estates crapping on each other's ideas. However, women are starting to make a difference with
Killing.
I love your Charlotte Corday. Marie Antoinette told the French people that they should just eat cake, so they decided to march in the March of Versailles. A short man riding a horse starts to gain momentum in politics, but he makes essentially no change in the end. That whole French Revolution thing really shook up the world. Now, people all over the world are questioning who should get the power. The businesses, said Adam Smith. The laborers, said Karl Marx.
Capitalism, socialism, communism.
England is starting to pack some heat because they're near water and have manpower and have the resources. They're becoming industrialized. And you know what comes with industrialization? Poor people. The gap between the rich and the poor is so huge, each class strongly dislikes the other. However, there are lower fertility rates and lower mortality rates, leading to stable populations. Many nations follow England's example, leading to a good old capitalist society. Japan and Russia even realize how far behind they are after getting their asses smacked in some wars. New forms of travel are being made. There are new technologies, new metals, and new philosophies. The world is starting to look slightly less boring. Because of the whole industrial revolution thing, More and more workers are getting dissatisfied and turning to other social philosophies. Who would have thought cramming a bunch of poor people in a small workplace with little to no wages would cause them to get angry? Italy, Germany, Brazil, literally every country in Latin America. I swear, it's like whack-a-mole. Haiti's going through their whole fight for independence thing. I guess years of racial discrimination and economic disparity can make people mad. Who would have thought? The Haitians eventually win their independence, but to quote famous historical figure Thanos, what did it cost? Everything. The war kills hundreds of thousands of Haitians and results in economic disaster, which Haiti has yet to recover from. Isn't it funny how Europe leaves places worse off than when they get there? Mexico's having their own war of independence. And hey, they won. I bet nation building will go well for them. Let's go to South America. Give us our independence, said Brazil. Okay, said Prince Pedro the First. That was easy. Mexico's going through a whole military dictatorship scuffle while nation building. I guess having two opposing groups of revolutionaries with opposing ideologies isn't really the best setup for a revolution. Who would have thought? What is England doing now? War over opium? Well, not exactly. Britain got madly addicted to tea, like it was dependent on that shiz. They also liked other Chinese stuff, but that's just like everyone else in the world, so that's pretty normal. But China was fed up with that and was like, nah, bro, you gotta have some other stuff to trade that we want, or we don't want to give you our dope stuff. Britain didn't like that, so they were like, nah, bro, how about we give you an addiction that we can supply and you give us what we want? Despite several attempts at banning the import of opium, Britain still got China mad high, like a rave party high, but those weren't around back then. The Opium Wars didn't stop there. Britain wasn't just satisfied with getting China high. They wanted to have influence, like a pimp, but not really. Through a series of conflicts, Britain claimed victory royale and subjected China to a series of unequal treaties. Britain now had their influence, their tea, and had gotten China high. Remember Africa? Look at that land. People there? Yeah. Do we care about different cultures and civilizations? Not in the slightest. Ottoman Bismarck held the Berlin Conference to chop the land between European nations. Boundary lines were drawn with no regard to social tensions, culture, language, or ethnic background in general. In short, Africa got messed up. The European nations came in and settled to exploit the land for its resources. Europe did settle the land, such as the Cape Colony, and the natives fought back. But Europe was too strong for them, since they had gone through an industrial revolution. Europe left much later, but left the land royally screwed, as they had to deal with economic and political unrest. Let's check back with Russia for a sec. Actually, you know what? Let's not check back with Russia. Oh no, look at Europe. Everyone has big boom boom sticks, and they're itching to use them. Look, some Austrian dude just took a wrong turn and got shot. Hey, let's start a war.
World War One.
Oh no, another Austrian man with a funny mustache is causing problems. He's just blitzkrieg through Europe and is killing Jews. Britain, what are you going to do? I know. Let's give him what he wants and say he can't have more. And he just took Czechoslovakia. Okay. Looks like we're going to war again. Time for...
World War Two. Electric Boogaloo.
Oh, and look, the US and the USSR are the big boys now after World War II. And they hate each other.
World War Three.
Whoa. Hold up. We ain't there yet. The US and the USSR are being a bunch of bitches and won't even fight each other outright. I guess they've got to export their way. Hey, Korea. Hippity hoppity, you're now my property. And now we've got
Cold War.
on our hands.
Hands.
The British really were Debbie Downers through history. They really don't care about other groups. British people had to be superior. All that tea really got to their heads. Well, let's start with India. Religion. Yikes. There were Hindus and Muslims and they both wanted to be in charge. But that can't happen. Well, let's split them, said the British, because that went really well in Africa. Psych! Line seemed to be Britain's solution to all the problems. The people of India were like, ooh, line, let me cross it because Britain does not know what they are doing here. I want to go to the other side. Screw the line. Well, now Israel. Damn, another line. Whoa, more religion, but now Jewish. Israel is a sacred land, should belong to the Jews. Britain said, nope, let's add another line. It seems like Britain was bored of all the relatively straight lines, so they made it like a jigsaw puzzle. How creative. Well, This was controversial. The Jews, Arabs, and Palestinians were like, this is my land. No, it's mine. No, it's mine. Well, now there's a war. Thanks, Britain. Long story short, lines are bad. Speaking of divisions, who wants to talk about the Sunni-Shia conflict? Yay! After the fall of the Ottoman Empire, the Middle East is pretty much up for grabs. Who wants control of the Middle East? I do, said Saudi Arabia. I do, said Iran. Uh-oh. Somewhere around this time, Iran goes through a pretty major revolution and begins to support Shia revolutionaries in overthrowing the governments throughout the Middle East. Saudi Arabia retaliates by funding Sunni militias. The US complicates the issue by getting involved in Iraq and sending the country into a civil war fought between Sunni and Shia radicals.
Proxy wars.
This whole situation gets even more complicated when a bunch of other Middle Eastern countries start having revolutions of their own.
Arab Spring.
The whole Saudi-Iranian conflict thing destabilizes even more countries like Syria and Yemen. Oh, and now Mother Russia's involved too. The Middle East is about to get really messy. Back to China. One day, Mao looks outside China and goes, this place sucks. We need a communist movement to help modernize the country and be able to compete with the rest of the world. And thus, the Great Leap Forward is born. This is the road to communism. Russia is ahead because they decided to be productive and industrialized, so yeah, we gotta do that. Too bad it was a massive failure, and there were mass famines, and a lot of people died. Okay, let's try to fix this. Introducing the Great Proletarian Cultural Revolution. Now the Forbidden City is no longer forbidden. Children pledge their loyalty to Mao, and literacy rates skyrocket. Yay! Woo! Let's support Mao. He fixed what he destroyed. Well, now China's communist. A lot has happened in the past. Let's see where the world is now. Lovely stuff. The world never stops changing, I guess.